Good morning, everybody. Welcome to, actually it's day 40, that's amazing, isn't it? Who would have thought I'd get to day 40? So welcome. So it's Mal Bodie again. I'm on, what day is it now? It's day 5 of the series on ritual and devotion, which is kind of including a lot of stuff around religion and that sort of field. So we've looked at rituals. We've looked at creating a space, a sacred space. We've looked at bowing and salutation and prostrations. And we've looked at yesterday. We looked at faith, commitment to an ideal. So along the way, I've kind of like brought in various things. So yesterday I played a bit of the Stone Roses playing at the Etihad Stadium in Manchester as an example of religion. So maybe I'll just clarify that it's not that I believe that I'm into that religion. I suppose I'm into it a bit. I'm into it in the sense that it brings people together and gives them a sense of common common humanity or something like that. But actually, it runs out of. It's got certain legs, It runs out at a certain point, It doesn't. Maybe that it's a kind of a way in which a group can sort of come together and feel, we feel a part of things. So, but ultimately, religion, from a Buddhist point of view, is an individual affair. Where we take personal responsibility for our lives and the effect that we have on both on ourselves and others in the actions that we do. So sometimes things are kind of helpful in that they support our emotions and encourage us and all that, But ultimately, it's like, we need to be refining and refining our sources of inspiration so that they're kind of targeting suffering much more kind of closely. You might have the kind of that sense of unity among the crowd singing along to Ian Brown at the Etihad, and on the one hand, and then you might have a Tibetan monk on a 15-year solitary retreat. So Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche was on his own for 15 years, and he's really focusing on all sentient beings, like the developing sense of love and care for all sentient beings, and keep, even though he's in solitude, his kind of faith in Buddhism and his faith in the Buddhist path of kindness and awareness is getting kind of stronger and stronger and stronger. And he's feeling more and more connected. He's feeling more and more connected. Even in a way, the longer and longer he's on his own. So there's a kind of bit of a paradox there. So maybe like this is indicative of what meditation can be or is about. Really, it's about coming back to what's more essential in life. What are the essential things that are the most important things to focus on. So this week I think it's been a little bit chaotic in the way I presented it. But what I want to do this morning is to do a bit of a summary. Once we've done the body work and meditation, I'll do a little bit of a summary to catch us up. And then we're going to move on to There's like somebody asked a question. Liz asked a question. I'll try and answer that about what do you do, when you're kind of going up to a shrine and you're kind of making an offering and you feel a bit embarrassed or something like that. So I'll try and address that that issue, and but also to look at, well, what place confession has in Buddhism. So it comes at this point, really, once you've gone for refuge. If you're doing the puja, which is the devotional ceremony, you go for refuge, which is like as a commitment to the three jewels and practicing the precepts at whatever level that you're at with that. For different people it'll be a different thing. It'll be a different strength of commitment, as I outlined yesterday. And then what place does admitting that you to yourself and to others that you've fallen down in terms of your own ideals. So yes, I'll be kind of bringing in Buddhist texts and to illustrate that, and talking around it a bit in terms of psychology as well. So hopefully that'll be helpful for people, and it may be and also addressing things like guilt, sense of guilt, and irrational guilt, and things that we conditioning that we can pick up in childhood that is unhelpful, and that sort of thing around religion. So, hi, thanks, Joe. But we begin by. I feel much better actually, having gone to bed last night. Some days you just think, oh, just give up. It's like you're trying to do another thing, and then your head's in such a state, and you go, give up and start again tomorrow. So I did that at 10 o'clock last night. I thought, I'll just give up. But actually, I feel better for having done that and had a decent night's sleep. So, yeah, all right. So we begin by a bit of body work, and let's do doin, which is from the Japanese tradition. And so a do means way. It's like you have all those judo, kendo, that sort of thing. Origami, no. You have all those. They're all the way of the way of the sword or whatever. So this is the way of a kind of self massage, which is the same system as shiatsu and acupuncture and all those sorts of things. So we just begin by just drumming with our fingers on our head, and as you do so, just have your knees just slightly bent, and take your attention into your feet. And feeling the contact of your feet and the ground. Open your chest a little bit. And just let your mind slow down, so that because when we're trying to contact our body, it's a slower process than it is when we're trying to contact our mind. Our mind works very quickly, and our body works quite slowly. Mine works particularly slowly, so it takes me ages to relax. If I'm getting a bath, I have to wait hours, really. So kind of moving our attention out of our head and into our body. So how does it feel to be wearing clothes? Rub your hands together, and what's the sensation like on your skin? Where I can feel some cool spots where there's evaporation happening, and other parts that are warmer, like where my fleece is touching my body, where I'm rubbing my arms. So we're trying to get into our physical experience. And this does something in itself, you know, this grounds us, this takes us away from all that kind of little thoughts that are kind of maybe panicking a little bit. Oh, what about this? What about that? Oh. So, you know, the body can be a fantastic sense of reassurance that the mind isn't kind of on its own and isolated. And then just put your forehead in your hands and just curve your neck over. It's like hunching your shoulders over a bit as well. And take a few deeper breaths. We're just having a sense of turning away from the world. You know, you're covering your eyes, and it's like just having a sense of resting your gaze. You're not looking out at anything. Just turning your attention inward. A bit inward towards your feelings as well, how you feel at the moment. So we're going into a bit of a womb-like position here, fetal position. Bend your knees slightly. So the more work we can do with our body before meditation, the less of a struggle it'll be when we're sitting with discomfort or restlessness. So we're working with this, you know, this body, which is a really large part of our experience. So if we can make it into a better source of happiness by relaxing it, by bringing energy to it, then we're being intelligent about our the conditions that we're in. And it's not so intelligent to just sit in meditation thinking that it doesn't matter, you know, that we can override it, or that we're, you know, we're somehow, if we do anything like body work before meditation, that somehow we're weak and ineffectual or something, you know. But I think it's the other way around, you know. You know, the confident person takes care of all the conditions that they need to be effective, and they don't, you know, they don't kind of like pretend that they're God by just thinking, I can do anything. Yeah, it's a bit of a sermon going on here. Yeah, take a few deeper breaths and be aware of your breathing on your wrists. So as I said, it can take time. We have to give things enough time. So I don't know if you noticed that the longer you're doing this, that the more somehow your mind settled down. And then give your face a bit of a wash with your hands. Maybe breathing into your hands. Just enjoying the moisture in the air and your breath. Sorry, can you hear me there? Okay. Now what we're going to do is just put your elbow in one palm of one hand, and then go over the top there with some vigorous slapping, and try to get onto your spine. So with all these things, if you've got injuries or health conditions, only operate within your parameters that you know where you're not doing any harm to yourself. So just do something equivalent. And with this, so however hard you're doing it now, so I'm doing it this hard, right, try and do it like twice as hard. We've got all day to go, you know, with our body, so the more we can do now, the better it'll be later on. And then other side. And twice as hard. Ouch. Shake everything out. And then go down the outside of your arm. And onto the back of your hand. And if it's a bit painful, that's good. So wake it up. And then palms of your hands. Round of applause. And then up the inside. And round again. And then other side. I can notice my own tendency to want to rush past this. It doesn't. But I'm going to resist it. Bit of pain on the back of your hand. No pain, no gain. Ow, wow, wow, wow. Popping. And then on your chest. And then just circling on your stomach, clockwise circles, and just feeling the sensations in the palms of your hands, your fingers, your clothing. Maybe slow down now, it's a bit slower, half as slow. And really feeling the shape of your stomach. and your feet contact with how you feel, how it feels to have your feet in contact with the ground. Knees slightly bent, shoulders relaxed, and then just drumming lightly at the on your kidneys at the back. It's quite good to take our time doing this actually. Nice gentle stimulation of the kidney area. And then more heavily on your buttocks and the backs of your legs. And then down your legs as far as you can go. And then shake everything out, hands and feet and head. Just brush down your body with your hands. Okay, so hopefully that's helps stimulate your body a bit. It's always good to do that and also do something that's going to smooth the energy out of the body. So we do a little bit of Qigong, very basic Qigong. So if you just put your hands on your stomach and just wait for your breathing to calm down. And then next time you notice that you're breathing out, just bend your knees. Maybe make it a bit deliberate, just breathe out very deliberately and then breathe in deliberately and straighten your knees. So you're taking your whole body down in one piece on the out breath and then bringing it up on the in breath and down on the out breath, coming up on the in breath, and down on the out breath, up on the in breath, and down on the out breath, coming up on the in breath, up on the in breath, down on the out breath, up on the in breath, down on the out breath, up on the in breath, down on the out breath, coming up on the in breath, and then put your hands out the front of your hips. Oh, sorry, and down on the out breath. Put your hands in front of your hips, and on the in breath, bringing them up to your chin, turning at the chin and down on the out breath. To your hips, turning at the hips, up on the in breath. Open your chest and down on the out breath. Turning at the hips, coming up on the in breath. Turning at the chin and down on the out breath. Turning at the hips, coming up on the in breath. Turning at the chin, down on the out breath. Turning at the hips, coming up on the in breath. Turning at the chin, down on the out breath. Turning at the hips, up on the in breath, and keep going past your chin this time, and up into the air, and then out to the side, opening your chest, then down the sides of your body, big circle, and then coming up the middle again, up and then out, expanding out your chest. Now just imagine a ball of energy coming up the middle of your body, like golden energy just coming up your spine and then expanding out into a big ball at the top. So it's coming up right through the middle of your body and then expanding outwards. Coming up the middle there, up your body, expanding outwards. One last one, up the middle, really opening your chest and down by your sides, and then just stand for a minute or so, and allowing your spine to be as vertical as you can. Just tuning into what the energy in your body is like now. So we're going to move into our meditation posture. So try to keep whatever uprightness is there in your spine going as you shift into your meditation posture. So if you're new here, just find a chair to sit on that's relatively hard, or some meditation cushions that are relatively hard if you sit on ground. That's the ideal anyway. Okay, so we're going to do a meditation that I call a grounding meditation. So it's about being aware of our situation. So in a way, a simple way of looking at meditation is that it's like we withdraw from our normal activities. Stop doing what we're normally doing, and then go to a quiet place. So the Buddha talks about the monk going to the foot of a tree or something in the forest and setting up themselves in the meditation posture. So the principle is, you just withdraw from the world, go to some quiet place where you're not going to get disturbed, hopefully, and then allow your body to just sit there, in a way that's comfortable for it. So often we're so used to using our mind to kind of boss our body about, do this, do that, sit up straight, da 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 da. We just habitually bring tension into our body by doing it, by giving it orders, But in the Alexander technique, which is a body work invented by a guy called F.M. Alexander, who's an actor in Australia, he talked about the body, using the body in the way it was designed to be used. So not kind of bossing it around, but just looking for what's the natural way that it would be poised, where we're not interfering with it. So children and animals and small children move in a very natural sort of way, you know, that they haven't learnt any bad habits, but we've all learnt bad habits as adults, so we need to unlearn those habits. So just let your body just sit there and try to have your mind and emotions not involved with it, you know, in terms of what it's doing. So it's supporting them rather than the other way around. And then I'll take us through a sequence which will help us with that even more. So if you close your eyes, so a grounding meditation. So first of all, just reflecting on the situation that we're in. So what is our situation? So our situation is that we're alive and we exist in time and space. So first of all, let's be aware of time. So just having a sense of all the moments that you've experienced in the past. So we're just letting our body just sit there, just let our mind just be a bit lazy. So it's not involved so much with our body. Just being aware of all the moments you've experienced in the past. Or even just being aware that you do exist in time, you know. That time exists. And being aware that time exists in the future. So if our mind has been a bit busy and we ask it to do something, it's often dominated by whatever it was doing before, so it can take a bit of time for things to happen. So being patient, if we're asking it to be aware of time, give it some time for that. Yeah, just keep coming back to sense of the energy in your body that you've developed in the body work, supporting you to sit here. So as well as existing in the past and in the future, we are, you know, We also are here in a particular moment in time, which is the present moment. So just let yourself arrive into the present moment, which is where your life is actually happening right now. And then it's also the case that you exist in space. So you're sitting on a huge ball of matter called the Earth. And above your head is the atmosphere of the Earth, which is about 10 miles thick. And then beyond that is this vast universe, which is largely empty space. It's absolutely vast distances out there. It takes light 15 billion years to reach the edge of the universe, and it takes it one second to get to the moon, 8 minutes to the sun. Gives us a sense of actually how rare life is in the universe. How, do we make the most of it? Precious opportunity. And the Earth is covered with oceans, some of which parts are very deep, like 8 kilometers deep is one part of the ocean. And mountain ranges, Himalayas, the Alps, and forests like the Amazon, cities like New York, deserts like the Sahara, farmland. So you're in a particular place on the Earth. So just acknowledging the exact place where you are right now, the room or locality, wherever it is. And just waiting for yourself to arrive in that particular place. Being aware of your place in the universe. So we exist in time and in space. That's the case. What else is the case? What can we say is the case? Well, it's the case that we have a physical body. And that body exists in the physical universe. And it has a particular structure to it. Your specific body has bones in certain places and muscles in other places, and organs. And the bones are designed to take the body's weight, muscles to move it about, and organs to keep it alive. So just tuning into your particular body sitting here. Into the reality of it, the shape it's making. So can you make some adjustments so that the weight goes down more directly into the ground, without introducing any tension into your experience? So just let your body just sit there, don't interfere with it, but just look at the angle that your spine is making as it rises up from the seat that you're sitting on. And try to make that angle as vertical as you can. And then if the muscles of your body feel that they are going to be supported by the bones of your body, then they can just relax. So relaxation is a physical thing. It's like unfurling a fist. So can you just unfurl any tension in your body? Giving up the weight to your skeleton. And just let that tension fall away, fall down towards the ground. Just allowing the body to become soft. Softening at the crown of your head. Your face and jaw. Where your tongue meets the back of your throat. Softening at the back of your neck and back of your head and down the back of your neck. Imagining a cascade of relaxation passing down your back into the ground. A bit like a waterfall. Softening around the collarbone and the tops of the shoulders. Around the heart area. and the chest. Softening the muscles between the ribs and down the back, sides of the body. In the solar plexus area and the stomach. And relaxing all the way down the arms and into the hands, particularly the palms of the hands, where there's millions of nerve endings, because the sensitivity needed to manipulate objects. Just let all those nerve endings become quiet. Softening around the pelvis area, the groin. Imagining on the out breath that the pelvis area just relaxes a bit more into the seat. Just very slightly with each breath there's a bit more relaxation happening, a bit more sense of grounding of the body on whatever you're sitting on. And softening in the big thighs, big muscles of the thighs, the knees and the shins and the calves, the feet. Again, just imagining all the nerve endings in the feet, again like the hands. And just imagining all those nerve endings quietening down. And then to deepen our relaxation even further, just pick a point in your chest somewhere. And just recalling a time when maybe you felt a bit upset and a friend put their hand on your shoulder, and just the touch of that hand just helped make you feel reassured and relaxed, helped you relax. I just imagine that around that point in your chest is a lot of other points that are touching it, and just imagine that the touch of all those points around that point is like that hand, bringing a sense of reassurance to that point in your body. That it's not alone, it's there in a world of touch, of companionship in a way. And then just imagining that similar process is happening throughout the whole of your body. Every point in your body is touching other points around it, and that the touch of those points is like that hand, bringing a sense of calm and reassurance to that point in your body. And just imagine that any tension in your body is falling away into the ground, and even imagine that you end up kind of sitting on it. Maybe imagine taking a few longer breaths. And starting to become aware of the world beyond your body, world of the senses. Maybe gently start to move your hands and feet, just gently starting to move, and in your own time bringing your meditation to a close. Okay, good. It was a nice long session. Feels like Saturday morning actually this morning. Quite nice. Yeah, so this week I've been looking at ritual and devotion, and so the ceremony that Buddhist devotional ceremony is called puja. So you get Tibetan monks doing pujas all day long. They do it actually all day long, and they have tea. People bring tea in, and they have a cup of tea in the middle of it all. And the idea is that it's highly symbolic, Tibetan Buddhism, highly devotional, and so the basic idea is that it's like bringing into your life the ideals of Buddhism, and so in Tibetan Buddhism, what people train in is something called this is a gold book that it's the Bodhicharyavatara. So it's the guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life. So the Bodhisattva is the altruistic Buddhist. So Mahayana Buddhism Tibetan Buddhism is based on Mahayana Buddhism. So basically what people do is, first of all, they really sort of train in compassion and trying to become aware of all beings everywhere, and they meditate on trying to cultivate the bodhicitta. So the bodhicitta is the desire. It's like an emotion chitta is mind, but mind in the sense of emotion as well as thoughts and as well as attentions. Three aspects to mind. Emotions part of it. So the bodhicitta is like the whole of the person is orientated towards enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. So you don't. It's not a case of get enlightened and then help people. It's more a case of get everybody enlightened, and even just start with that. You know, you're just one person among all the other people who need to become enlightened or need to be made happier. You know, so yeah. So this is the bodhisattva ideal that Tibetan Buddhism is based on, and so there was you know, back in the day, back in say 5th century, something like that. There was this this Buddhist university started to build up, you know, called Nalanda. So Nalanda is quite close to Bodh Gaya, which is the place where the Buddha gained enlightenment. So you can go there on pilgrimage, and we went in about 2013. We went on pilgrimage there, a group of people from Manchester, and so Nalanda, it's this amazing site. If you can imagine, like say you've got a building which holds 30 monks. So you'll have got 30 monks in their rooms, like monk's cell or whatever, and then next to it is like a shrine room, or like a building which is the meditation place, and then there's another one next to it, and there's another one next to that. So Nalanda ended up being this enormous Buddhist site with 10,000 monks there, and the whole thing was about 10 miles long or something like that. It's like, you know, so and it just built up over centuries, like 5th century, 7th century, 9th century, different like layers of Nalanda, and you can still see the some of the Buddha statues that actually sometimes in these like meditation, we went there, you know, these meditation shrine room, all you got left of the Buddha is like a bit of a pile of dust, you know, a little kind of mound, you know, it's all kind of worn away. But in the local museum, you get these fantastic like little statues that the monks would have had. Really kind of high culture Buddhism. So there was a monk there called Shantideva, and traditionally the story goes that he was seen as being a bit lazy, you know, like people didn't see much of him, and they thought he was just sleeping in his room, you know. But actually, he was just doing this kind of working out his own intense practice and altruistic practice, and so he wrote this book, the Bodhicharyavatara, the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, and it's like a devotional poem in a way, that just really takes things to kind of extremes in terms of exchanging oneself for others, you know, those sort of sentiments, you know, putting other people first, you know, real extremes of patience, you know, how how Buddhists take patience to an extreme sometimes, but it's all to serve this ideal. So he wrote he wrote this text, and then the puja, often pujas are based on his and other, you know, his and other kind of Buddhist texts, like the Sutra of Golden Light is another one. Yeah, and so the devotional ceremony that we use in Triratna is based on Shantideva's Bodhicharyavatara. It's a sort of shortened version. So yeah, so I'll just go through that a little bit, just because I've not really covered it. So it's called Sevenfold Puja, and it's like seven. Sangharakshita talks about 7 moods, devotional moods. So the first one is worship, and it goes with Mandarava, blue lotus, and jasmine, with all flowers pleasing and fragrant. So this will be said in call and response in the Buddhist centre. With garlands skillfully woven, I pay honour to the princes of the sages, so worthy of veneration. I envelop them in clouds of incense, sweet and penetrating. I make them offerings of food, hard and soft, and pleasing kinds of liquids to drink. I offer them lamps, encrusted with jewels, festooned with golden lotus. On the paving, sprinkled with perfume, I scatter handfuls of beautiful flowers. So this is these are imaginative offerings that are being made to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, archetypal figures in Buddhism, and in the Bodhicharyavatara, there's like pages and pages of this really exotic kind of offerings, even offering things like the cry of wild geese. So this is how poetry is really important, I think, in activating the imagination. We need to be poetic with to evoke what enlightenment might actually be like. So the more exotic and refined the offerings that you make, in a way, you're sort of saying you're attracting the qualities of enlightenment to that. You're saying, oh, it's like, in a way, you're perfuming your own mind with something elevated, and then it's almost as if that is helping you imagine what might be elevated, what might be an enlightened state of mind. So you can see that the worship section of the puja is bringing the transcendental in, So before you start the puja, in a way, you say it's not really there, and then in the first section, it's like you're bringing it in. So before you're going to come into relationship with it, it has to be there. So in the Bodhicharyavatara, there'd be all these verses, and it would help the practitioners, the monks, to kind of, for this kind of vision to arrive about, well, what is enlightenment, and it's often it's a mystery. It's like beyond what we can know, really. So, but that's good anyway. It's like having a sense of, we don't know. It's beyond us. And that can bring a sense of humility that, we don't know. Like Padmasambhava, who took Buddhism to Tibet, he's said to have said, I do not know, I do not understand. And another thing, I've forgotten it. Yeah, but the basic sentiment is that I do not have. Yeah, so it's like a kind of, even enlightened beings. He's an enlightened being, took Buddhism to Tibet. I do not have, I do not understand. It's like saying I'm receptive to learning, what reality is like. So a Buddha is open to reality, to learning from reality. We think we know all about reality, but the more kind of the more advanced you are as a Buddhist, maybe you have more of a greater sense of humility about what reality is. And Socrates famously said, he didn't know anything, and that's what made him the wisest man in Athens. He was wise enough to know that receptivity was the most important thing, to feel like you don't know. So having set up a sense of what enlightenment might be like, or brought it in through doing the offering, making the offerings to it to enlighten consciousness. In the secondly, what you have the salutation section. As many atoms as there are in the 1,000 million worlds, so many times I make reverent salutation to all the Buddhas of the 3 eras, to the Siddharma, that means true Dharma, and to the excellent community, that's the community of Buddhists. I pay homage to all the shrines and places in which the Bodhisattvas have been. I make profound obeisance to the teachers and those to whom respectful salutation is due. So this is the place where the bow comes in, so just prior to this we've had the mantra, that usually the Avalokiteshvara mantra, and then people go up to the shrine and make offerings and bow to the shrine. So having brought in section 1, having brought the transcendental in, we then come into relationship with it. So we say, it's almost like when I went into bowing 2 days ago, it was like lowering our head in relation to the object that we're bowing to. It's like saying, you know more than me in a certain area. I would like to be receptive to you, what I can learn from you. So I'm gonna lower my head to acknowledge that, and then try and be more receptive to what you have to teach me. So the bow is kind of, in a way, is completely rational if we see it in that sort of way. It's like it's about becoming open to the transcendental and its influence. So it's like in section 2, it's like, so section 1 is we've brought the transcendental in, section 2 is like we brought ourselves in, and our relationship, we're acknowledging our relationship to the transcendental, which is one of wanting to learn from it. And then in section 3, which is going for refuge, it says, the text says, "This very day I go for my refuge to the powerful protectors, whose purpose is to guard the universe, the mighty conquerors who overcome suffering everywhere. Wholeheartedly also I take my refuge in the Dharma they have ascertained, which is the abode of security against the rounds of rebirth. Likewise, in the host of Bodhisattvas, I take my refuge." So here we're going for refuge to the 3 jewels, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. The 3 most, they're called jewels because they're the most precious things in Buddhism. And so I talked about yesterday about religion. It's like we all have our religions and things that we put at the centre of our lives, and so Buddhists put the 3 jewels at the centre of their lives. So so in a way, we go for refuge. It's like we say, we decide what we are going to make our life about, and it can be mixed. People can sort of, I want to make my life about getting more material things, but I'm interested in Buddhism as well. So it might be that there's both going on, and maybe like we weigh those, and maybe sometimes we swing more towards Buddhism and swing more towards materialism and stuff. But yeah, it's important to, in the puja, what we're doing is we're just acknowledging the degree to which we want to be a Buddhist or try and practice Buddhism or even just explore it, So it's like we're saying that, yeah, this is what I want to do. And then what happens immediately after that is in the puja we recite in call and response often the refuges and precepts. So in Pali, Pali is the ancient Indian language that Buddhism was written down in after the Buddha's time. And it goes, Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa, Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. Duchyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. Duchyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. Duchyampi Dhammang Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. Tatyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. Tatyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. Tatyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. Which means homage to him, the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the perfectly enlightened one, so that's the Buddha. To the Buddha for refuge I go, to the Dharma for refuge I go, to the Sangha for refuge I go. And then for the second time, to the Buddha for refuge I go, to the Dharma for refuge I go, and for the third time, so you say it 3 times. And then you say, Panatipata Verimini Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami. Adinadana Verimini Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami. Kamesu Michachara Verimini Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami. Musavada Verimini Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami. Suramerya Majja Pamadatana Verimini Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami. Which means I undertake to abstain from taking life. I undertake to abstain from taking the not given. I undertake to abstain from sexual misconduct. I undertake to abstain from false speech. I undertake to abstain from taking intoxicants. And then you say that the same thing, but in the positive precepts. With deeds of loving kindness, I purify my body. With open-handed generosity, I purify my body. With stillness, simplicity, and contentment, I purify my body. With truthful communication, I purify my speech. With mindfulness clear and radiant, I purify my mind. So what we have here are the 5 precepts. So 5 precepts is a training principle. So it's a bit like in Buddhism. These are the actions that enlightened being would naturally take. So they'd be naturally kind, they'd be naturally generous, and they'd be naturally content. So they wouldn't look outside of themselves for stimulation or for sources of happiness. They would practice contentment, they'd practice loving kindness, stillness and stuff, and that would be a genuine thing. They would enjoy that actually more than looking outside themselves for sources, for refuges in a way. With truthful communication, so honesty, truthfulness, I purify my speech, and with mindfulness clear and radiant, I purify my mind. So in a way, the Buddhism is very much based around loving kindness, the first precept, and mindfulness, the fifth precept. So happiness comes about because we want it for ourselves and we want it for others. So we really go about trying to cultivate that desire for the welfare of ourselves and for others. And then mindfulness is knowing how to bring that about. What do you do in the world to bring about happiness for yourself and others? You're aware of yourself, you're aware of others, you're aware of what actually works, what doesn't work in terms of bringing about happiness. We went into this in series 3, which was the Buddha's teaching on mindfulness. I went into that in detail. Yeah, so that, you know, having gone for refuge to the Buddha and his teachings and the community, what the community then does is practice these precepts, you know, with each other. You know, people try and be kind, try and be generous, try and be calm, try and be honest, try and be mindful, aware. Yeah, and you build up a supportive condition for that. You know, when you're practicing with other people, then it's kind of understood what you're trying to do. You know, so there's a kind of bottom line of understanding that you can sort of rely on. That, oh yeah, you know, people are going to try and be generous with me. I'm just going to try and be generous with them. So people understand each other a bit more. Yeah, so it's like that. I suppose it's like that with any religion, that, you know, that you have a set of values that then you're trying to practice. So in Christianity, you'd have, you know, kind of love thy neighbour as thyself, and that sort of thing. Yeah, in Islam, you've got really sort of strong values of brotherhood, and you know, kind of. I think there's in Islam, you have an ideal that you would want your friend to just use your possessions, you know, that sort of thing. So yeah, so these are the first three sections of the puja, the Buddhist text on devotion, and then what happens then is you've got the fourth one, which is confession of faults, which is the topic of today. We've got onto it after an hour and 20 minutes. And it says, the evil which I have heaped up through my ignorance and foolishness, evil in the world of everyday experience, as well as evil in understanding and intelligence, all that I acknowledge to the protectors, standing before them, with hands raised in reverence and terrified of suffering, I pay salutations again and again. May the leaders receive this kindly, just as it is, with its many faults. What is not good, O protectors, I shall not do again. So, confession. Yeah. Wrongdoing. Hell. Brimstone. Okay. It says here evil, the evil in the world of everyday experience. So the Buddha used to talk about the danger in trifling faults. So what can happen is that we have a sense of thinking, oh, I did that, but oh, it was a small thing, you know, it doesn't really matter, you know. And then our life could just become a mass of those, you know, like, oh yeah, that wasn't very good, but oh, it was a small thing. It doesn't, you know. So the fact that it says evil here, evil in the world of everyday experience, in a way, just mean it's saying that actually, let's try and consider that it might actually matter. These little things that we do. Might have a cumulative effect, you know. And I've got a load of audio books on Audible, and one of them is Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, and in it he's talking about his practice of trying to be honest, trying to be completely honest all the time, and it's really fascinating. You know, he's talking about being as a psychologist, being honest. He was dealing with somebody who was like intensely paranoid, you know, and maybe a bit dangerous. And what he said was that he knew that paranoid people are kind of highly attuned to somebody not telling them the truth, you know, because they think everyone's out to get them, you know. So he said he had to kind of just scour his mind of anything that might be a slight lie, you know, when he's talking to this guy, you know. And he would be so completely honest about, well, how he felt about being with the guy, and but it was really helpful because the guy didn't then think, oh, he's trying to pull the wool over my eyes here, or he's just saying this. And it was the same, yeah, with a neighbour who was like an alcoholic biker who was coming around in the middle of the night trying to sell his microwave. And at a certain point, his wife said, "Oh, you need to do something about this. We can't have him turning up at 2 in the morning trying to sell us his microwave." So yeah, this one time, you know, Jordan sort of said, well, he just had to sort of be honest and say, look, you know, I don't want to buy your microwave, and I feel a bit, and my wife's a bit, you know, it disturbs her, the fact that you're coming round at this time in the morning, and I feel a bit uncomfortable about it as well. And the guy took it. He took it. He didn't get angry. He took the truth. You know, he got it. You know, so there's something about there's something kind of pure about trying to be honest, practice the precepts under like all circumstances, because it is the truth. It is, you know. And it's the same with, like, I suppose, like generosity. Like, you know, if we are generous, then if we're not generous, that we kind of know on some level that we're afraid of life on some level, that we're not gonna have enough if we give stuff away. You know, if we give things away to when they're needed, even, you know, it's like we're going to end up with less than we, you know. So it's like there's something kind of heroic about practicing ethics, you know, that it does it kind of exposes us to reality, but ultimately, if we can more and more become exposed to reality, then we become less and less afraid of it, you know. So, you know, we're only afraid of things because we're not facing them in a way, you know. So if the thing that we are afraid of, this is exposure therapy in psychology, they deal with anxiety, you know. If the thing you're afraid of is in Paris, you know, you'll always be aware of where Paris is in the world, you know. But if we gradually face our anxieties one at a time, you know, take the mildest one first and face it, then we start to become less afraid of life and of things that might come at us. So in his I'm having a ramble here. In his you know, Jordan Peterson, he was saying about the psychologist Adler. So Adler was one of the big three, you know, Freud, Jung, and Adler. And I actually found Adler quite helpful when I was in therapy in the late 80s, and he invented, like, he focused more on action, you know, occupational therapy and things like that come at him. Adler held a theory of 3 life tasks: occupation, society, and love. So he's focusing a bit more on how you are in society, you know, what you're doing in society, on action in society. And so, you know, a lot of people have this sense of, like, oh, you know, from Freud, that, oh, it was all my childhood. You know, I had this difficult childhood whereby you know, I didn't get the upbringing that I deserved or something. Therefore, that means that you know, there's various things I can't do or whatever, you know. So Adler had the concept of the life lie, you know, So this is this is in this area. It's like telling yourself something that then absolves you from responsibility for other things, you know, in life. So I can't really do that because I had this difficult childhood. So so when it comes to confession, in a way, what we're doing is we're admitting our part in things. So you know, in things like areas like Alcoholics Anonymous, for instance, you know, you've got the thing called the 12 steps, and what people do is they make amends to, or they do what's called a personal inventory of themselves, you know, and sort of see where have they been wrong. So obviously, if you've been an alcoholic and you've created a torment of destruction through other people's lives through being an alcoholic, you've got a lot to kind of own up to yourself and other people. But this is what people do. They admit to themselves and to others what they've done, you know. So often addicts have a sense of entitlement. Oh, I'm entitled to this. It's the other world. It's the world's fault. You know, they made me like this and stuff. But what people in that world do is they make they try and sort of see, well, what they did. You know, what did I do? Never mind what upbringing I had. What have I done? And can I make amends for that to other people? So it's the talk about like my side of the street, you know, cleaning up my side of the street. So confession in Buddhism is a bit like this. It's a bit like, well, you know, what's my part in things? What's my side of the street? What have I done that's not been helpful? And then, so the monks in the Buddhist day, after the Buddha, you know, it said that they would get together. So they're living in the jungle, you know, wandering about in the jungle, often in twos and threes and things, and they're begging for alms, and they're coming together. So they would obviously they haven't got watches, so the time to how they would measure the time of the month would be that there'd be a full moon or a new moon, you know. They would come together, they would meet, you know, maybe every couple of weeks when it was a full moon or new moon, and they would confess their, you know, they'd have these precepts they were trying to practice, and then they'd say, oh, well, I've fallen down on this one. I've not meditated, you know, that much, or I've not, you know, I could see that I was worrying what was in my begging bowl, you know, and kind of maybe feeling a bit of resentment towards that person for not giving me very much or something like that, you know. So they would have this set of values, and then they would notice when they'd fallen down on those values, and this is completely for their benefit, not for anybody else's. They're not doing it because they're worried what other people might think or whatever. You know, ideally it's all, you know, because they themselves are disappointed about their own shortcoming. So having kind of confessed it to another person, and people in the order do this, you know, and people, you know, people who are training for ordination will get together and have a group called a chapter or going for refuge group, and they would like confess, you know, what things that they think, oh, that was unskillful, that led to harm. So in confessing, it's not like the other people absolve them of it. It's more that admitting it to another person just helps it be what is want to let go of it in future or not do it again, you know. So that's the purpose, and so the idea is that we end up feeling kind of once we're admitted our shortcomings, then we feel a bit lighter because we're not trying to hide it from somebody else, or it's not weighing in on our conscience. We still in a way probably need to make amends to the person that we've harmed and say sorry, and even try to put it right. If there was a consequence, to try and address the consequence and try and put that right. But just the act of confession itself is putting us back onto the path again. It's putting us back onto putting our settings back to zero. And then we can start again. We can start again trying to practice the precepts. So, so tomorrow we'll move on to the next part, which is rejoicing in merits. So it's a bit like, the confession bit is focusing on the negative. What harm we might have created, but what follows immediately is maybe a remedy to that, which is like, we all need to be able to rejoice in the good that we've done. So it's not all about the bad; it's about the good. So often in Buddhism, you have something that maybe is a bit sobering, is followed by something which is a bit rejoicing, which is about the positive side of things. So yes, humanity needs to have that balance. Admit to faults, but see what you're good at. See what you rejoice in your merits, and let yourself be rejoiced in. So I did say at the beginning that I would address Liz's question about what do you do when you go in to a shrine and Buddhist shrine, and you feel a bit embarrassed. Maybe you're kind of doing it for the first time, or making an offer. I mean, my first ever puja. Somebody did in the middle of it. Somebody prostrated full length on the ground in front of the shrine. I just went, "Let me out of here!" It's like, I thought, it's a cult. Let me out. So it's like it can the whole devotion thing can, because emotions are involved, it can raise emotions quite high. So it's like, I suppose we need to have a way of looking at that, or thinking about that. So what we're trying to do in the puja, it's all in a way, it's all hyperbole, right? So when we say as many atoms as there are in the 1,000 million worlds, so many times I make reverent salutation. So what you're saying is that I'm going to prostrate to the shrine, like, well, how many atoms are there in the universe? There's like 10 with 80 noughts after it is the number of atoms in the universe. We're basically lying there. We're not going to do that. But the idea, and a helpful idea I have about this, is that we see it as play. So we're playing at being advanced bodhisattvas, Buddhas. In what we're saying and what we're doing. It's play. It's adult play. Symbolism is adult play. So there's no need to feel embarrassed about play. You don't feel embarrassed when you're playing, do you? Because you're pretending. So Liz, so maybe just like have a sense of it being like play. Just playing at what it might be to approach enlightenment, and offer some incense, and you're playing at coming into relationship with the Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha. You're playing at being in a community of Buddhists. It's like you're all playing together. And at the end of the puja, where you're chanting the mantras of the different Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, that's like you're playing a bit as if you're all Buddhas. You know, at the end of the puja, you've all been transformed and you're now all Buddhas, and there's that peacefulness at the end of the puja where, you know, it's like, oh yeah, you know, there's nothing to worry about. We're all here together. So yeah, so think of it in terms of play, and just try and enjoy the play. You know, enjoy the colour, enjoy the chanting, enjoy the perfuming of your mind with, you know, with verse that's you know, that's kind of exotic. So I'll just finish with some the opening to the puja from the Sutra of Golden Light. My friend Sibadasi, who's chairman in Brighton, is a poet, and he says these verses like rammed his mind up into this transcendental. You know, there's a lot of gold being mentioned here, so I'll just finish with this. And this is what presages the confession sections which are there in the Sutra of Golden Light. Really full-on confession sections. So, I worship the Buddhas who are like oceans of virtues, mountains gleaming with the colour of gold, like Sumeru, the king of mountains. Even with hundreds of voices in 1,000 aeons, the Buddha's virtues cannot be told. For the conqueror's qualities are supreme. They are all-encompassing and without number. The virtues of a single Buddha can never be told. Each Buddha is golden, shining like pure gold. He has fine eyes, pure and faultless like sapphire. His shapely limbs are as pure gold, and his body shines with all the marks of excellence. The Buddha is a blazing fountain of glory, splendour and renown. He is a Buddha sun, removing the darkness of the three realms with his rays of compassion. He soothes the tortured minds of those consumed by the impurities, by the fire of the impurities, with the sage's meshes of moonbeams. Homage to the Buddha, whose enlightenment is pure, who is eloquent in the pure Dharma, who is free from all evil ways, who has pure understanding of life's true nature. How endless is the Buddha's glory, who is a bringer of joy, a bringer of good, a bringer of blessing, the source of every inconceivable blessing. So on that basis of thinking of the qualities of the Buddha, of being like that then we would confess our, with the idea that this is what we're aiming at, that this is what we're trying to get to. So in the context of this, our little faults are quite easy to sort of admit to and to let go of. So thanks everyone, and have a nice day today. Have a nice Saturday morning if you're in the UK, or Saturday afternoon if you're in India, sure bit. And I'll come in and see you tomorrow when it be day 41. Thanks.